Welcome to the 2-Act Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Goth John. Who else am I speaking with?
Hi, I'm your other co-host, Adi.
Awesome. All right, so now we are going to discuss the 2003 film Oldboy, directed by Park Chan-wook. What'd you think, Adi?
I'm at a loss of words to describe this film. I just think it's a trip, and it's one of the most craziest films you'll ever see for reasons you may not necessarily like, but it is an incredible film by director Park Chan-wook, who is a legendary, in my opinion, he's one of the best film directors ever to come out from Korea. He's made films like The Handmaiden and Decision to Leave, which I really liked, which came out a year ago. But Oldboy is a film that, I never managed to come around to watch, but I always knew it was one of those films that is a cult classic and is always talked about specifically for its twist ending. But what did you think?
This is a spoiler discussion, so just keep that in mind.
Totally. You can't talk about this
yeah.
much without going into spoilers. I do think maybe we can do a bit of do you want to just give a bit of a intro on
little
what
synopsis?
it is? Yeah.
Yeah, so a guy, he gets kidnapped and then he's like put in like a hotel for 15 years and he has like no way of getting out. He's like fed every day. You like slowly watch him go crazy. So I also found out that this is loosely adapted off a Japanese manga of the same name, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, but adapted with a lot of creative liberties.
Oh yeah, they changed all the names.
Changed the names, and also a lot of the plot points were changed. And that's again credit to the director and the adaptation.
Yeah, I also learned how to pronounce the main character's name, Odesu.
That is correct. Odesu.
Oh, okay, I was just checking. I just wanted to make sure.
No, I got the name. Don't worry.
Hell yeah. Because they say it a lot in the film. Yeah, it's this guy that you slowly watch go crazy. He's in captivity. He's just like, you're watching him eat the same stuff every day. He's just like, it's like tweaking out and freaking out. The only thing he's got is like TV. I mean, then he starts like punching the wall. And you're like, oh, he's like training. He's like ready to get revenge on whoever got him in there. Yeah, this film's a part of it's like a trilogy of like revenge films, I guess. I don't remember the names of the other ones.
Yeah, it is a trilogy, and it's an interesting setup, just for a mystery, just for anyone who's into mysteries, just the whole concept of, being specifically locked in a room for 15 years on a night where, you were just out, and the next thing you know, you're completely trapped and kidnapped. So psychological thriller for sure. That's how I would. Yeah.
And the only way they catch him is he's just shit-faced drunk. He's just pissed drunk. And he's his friend's trying to like get him home. He's like missing his daughter's like birthday. He bought her a birthday present and he's just like tripping out. He's like trying to fight the cops. Like, you could just see, like, the type of man that he is at the start of the film.
Yeah, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked completely different. I think he looked a lot more stockier. He less disheveled. I mean, obviously he's drunk, but then when you see the progression in the room, it's a complete different guy. And it's almost like he's been stripped away, like, layers of his life just being stripped away in 15 years. And the next thing you know, he's just left out with no given explanation. He just ends up being hypnotized. And the next thing you know, he wakes up with a suitcase, I believe.
He wakes up in a suitcase and comes out of the suitcase.
That's correct. That is correct.
Which,
quite
on
literally.
top of that, yeah, quite literally on a roof, which is kind of like a crazy scene to film. And then, not sidebar too hard, but I guess the 2013 Spike Lee version of this film. They do try to do the same thing, but not as good.
Yeah, do not watch any remakes of this film because none of them are great. They're all trash
I
compared.
saw that there was a Hindi one. Have you ever even heard of the Hindi version?
I have not, but I was surprised to see how I've not even watched the American one, so I don't even really know how much they
did.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't, remakes are a bit iffy for me. I have a problem with films that get sort of remade, whether it's just to modernize it or it's remade in a different language.
I can think of maybe one or two that do it just as good or a little bit better. I can't think of many remakes that are better.
Yeah, very few really take it above the original. So,
but this original, it uses a lot of single shots in filmmaking, which is you definitely notice. You don't see a lot of million cuts. Like the fight scenes, especially the one where they're in the hallway, they just keep like the scene like more like closed, and unlike like a modern action movie where you just got jump cut, jump cut, jump cut, jump cut, jump cut, and you don't even know what's going on. Like,
you don't,
you have no idea.
And that's where I want to take a minute and just say, before we really get into spoilers, I just wanted to highlight this point that, you know, a lot of people will talk about this film because of its twist and because of obviously the ending. But I think in general, if you look at it, it is a very good accomplishment in filmmaking. And it's not just any filmmaking. This is a director who is, I would like to call him an auteur. Like he's got his style. He's got distinctive vision with how he's showing the story. And like you mentioned, like the action in the film is unlike what you see today with Hollywood, with jump cuts. You know, it's a lot more extended. It's a lot more uninterrupted. And then also there's scenes where there's clever editing, where at the start of the film, where he's in the room and he's losing his mind, you see a lot of jump cuts, and the jump cuts are sort of reflective of his fragmented mind. So I really enjoyed like all those things. There's some really good use of special effects in this film, which I was surprised by and impressed by the level it managed to pull off. It didn't look dated, in my opinion.
Right.
I was.
It's a film from 2003, which is kind of hard.
Yeah, 21 years ago, and we're still talking about it. So that makes it undeniably a cult classic. And this, I think it won the Grand Prix in the Cannes Film Festival where it premiered.
Oh.
And I do believe, I think the director, the actor won awards as well. So it was not only, you know, well talked about, but critically it was also well received with acclaim.
Yeah, I think what really brought it over to the States was when Quentin Tarantino was talking about it as another auteur director. You know, he's just spotlight, bam, on this great movie. And then, you know, a lot of other people will see it, and it really even becomes a cult classic in English-speaking audiences.
True. Tarantino is a big fan of this film, and I think there's lots of things about not only the story, but also the antagonist, which I think the antagonist story also really touched upon him, and just his ability, the filmmaker's ability to show these characters in such a sort of uncovered way. They like uncovers everything, and really you really feel the bare bones of what's going on. And I think, yeah, there's literally, you know, as the layers come across, it just gets more and more, I don't know, I guess more and more harder to watch. And
I can see that.
And yeah, quite often, you know, it always takes another filmmaker to recommend another filmmaker's work, and that often does help. But for a long time, this film was inaccessible. It was not easy to find, but I'm glad that now I believe there's a 4K remaster of it, so it should be easy to find and watch online.
It's even streaming on Netflix, if you have that.
The original or the American?
Original.
Okay.
Maybe the American. Just for the people that don't like watching subtitles.
I was shocked when I found out that Spike Lee directed it, the American remake. I was like, I didn't expect that. I just realized that.
You expect him to do like something completely different.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I mean, I'd see Tarantino wanting to touch this, but again, he's obviously, I think he would be capable of touching it, but it's best no one touches it, to be real.
Right. Especially with the touchy subjects that are in this film, a more amateur director or writer could definitely get this wrong for sure.
Wrong
even
on
somebody that's seasoned.
Wrong on so many levels. You don't want to even. It will be career suicide.
It certainly could be.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it. Should we go into spoilers?
Yep. So, like I said before, it's a spoiler discussion. All right. So, I really liked how he, the main character, Ode-su, narrated a lot of the movie. It really gave you, a jump into his mind. And then, like I said, it's a story about a man losing his mind slowly. And then, once he's lost his mind completely, he's just let out. And he has to find out why. And,
yeah, I guess that's true. I guess the big question is, why was he kept in jail for 15 years? But the real question to be asked is, why was he freed after 15 years?
And he's not even asking why he was freed, because he's just trying to find out who did this to him. He doesn't even entertain that idea. Like, the first person he sees, it's this guy that's trying to jump off the top of the building. He's trying to kill himself. And he's just he's touching him. He's like, "Are you real?" And it's all over him. And you can really see his sanity coming back a little bit, I guess. And the scene right after that is kind of crazy too, because he goes into a sushi bar and he wants something alive.
Yeah, that was a hard scene to watch.
Yeah, especially if you're squeamish.
Animal lovers, again, do not watch this film.
Right.
Because I guess we can talk about that scene on the roof where he's finally awakens. Sure. He ends up encountering this other guy with a dog who is quite clearly, again, mentally unstable and is thinking of committing suicide. But what changes is Ode-su tells this person his whole life story up to that point, which I thought was bizarre. And then, at that point, you see the guy who wants to kill himself pleading for a listener, and he pleads to Ode-su to hear his story out. But Ode-su just goes nope, not interested, walks out. Next thing you know, he comes out of a building wearing sunglasses, and there's a couple arguing in the back. Turns out it's a lady.
He stole the sunglasses from the lady.
Yeah, from the lady. And he's just he's wearing an all black suit, wearing sunglasses, kind of looks like a gangster, hair all over the place, overgrown. And the next thing you see the guy who he talks to on the roof jump down and smash straight into the car with the dog. And he laughs. Ode-su laughs, which I thought was a very surreal moment for the character. And if there's something that they did really well in the first opening minutes, even before he goes to jail, I thought that whole scene where he's at the police station and he's being kept in the waiting room and he's just being an absolute nuisance. 1 minute he's heckling with the other guys he's been kept with. He's heckling with the police guards. He's fighting with them. He's all over the floor. He strips his shirt. He's a complete lunatic in a way. And I think it really set up his character as, again, just a guy who's off the rails. Human, but off the rails. And then that just takes another level when he gets captured. That's where you actually see his mind kind of disintegrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that scene, like I was saying, like that scene in that sushi bar where he asks for something alive. She plops a squid right on his plate. And she's like, "You want me to cut it?" And he just picks it up and puts it in his damn mouth and eats it. Like a mad lad. He's an animal. His mind broke so much, he's an animal.
Yeah. Yeah, he's completely lost it. And very interesting that I think they took like 4 or 5 takes. So he had to eat like 4 or 5 octopuses to get that take. And the guy's Buddhist, apparently. So he had to pray every time to apologize, which I really feel bad.
Well, he went through a big transformation for the movie. It's just like is a Batman movie? I don't, some movie where the guy who plays Batman lost a lot of weight. He lost 40 pounds to be in captivity. And before that, he weighed 40 pounds heavier, obviously. So he not only like his acting, but in his physical body transformation, he went through a lot for this film.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff that they had to do. I'm sure, like those one take fight scenes, I'm sure they had to do those a ton of times.
Yeah, the iconic fight scene in the hallway, which we'll come to. But before that, it's sort of, he meets, I guess the important point in that sushi bar is he meets this girl. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it is, but there's strangely a sort of connection between the two. And I believe he mentions to her that he's maybe seen her on TV or something like that, which then piques her curiosity because she's kind of just doing her job. And the next thing you know, this guy feels familiar. And then she ends up helping him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He gets a phone call from, who's this guy? He was given a phone and he answers it. It has the same ringtone as the ringtone that he heard in captivity whenever the gas would knock him out. So that obviously triggers him. And then the guy is like, "Hey, you like your suit?" And they talk for a little bit and then he passes out. This is a crazy scene.
Yeah. Again, no explanation, no context, what's going on. It's a good 30 minutes into the film. And I guess a lot of viewers, this may be challenging for some viewers who may not necessarily enjoy things being vague for a long time. But I must say, a good 45 minutes of this film, you really don't have any clue what's going on. You're just
if you're looking at your phone, you're fucked.
Because one thing is this guy is a bit of an unreliable narrator.
He's drugged all the time. He was a drunk before.
He's drugged. He's tried to take his own life in captivity. He's obviously repressed. He's got regret. He knows that his wife's been killed and he's probably wanted for his wife's murder. He has no clue where his daughter is, which is very ironic.
Mm-hmm. Lots of trigger warnings in this one.
Man.
Yeah, no, well, when I asked you if you liked the movie, you're like, liked? That's a strong term for this movie.
I'll tell you what I did like. I liked how this could have easily just been a very straightforward revenge movie, right?
Right.
Some guy who just got wronged, whose life got ruined, and he comes out and he sets out to get revenge. That could have probably worked as well. It would have just been a great, John Wick style revenge movie before John Wick exists.
My dog.
Exactly. You ruined my life. You killed my wife, whatever. That would work as well. But hey, this takes it to the next level by not just being a revenge film. It becomes the revenge film for the antagonist who's taking revenge on our protagonist, which is crazy. It takes the whole concept of revenge to another level. And should we talk about the antagonist, Woo-jin?
Oh yeah. Another name that I got down right away because I was like, oh man, I like this guy. He's probably my favorite character in the whole movie. Woo-jin, not because of the stuff he does, but just because of how well the actor acts him. You believe him as being the shitlord that he is. Like
Yep.
the main villain is acted so well and is written so well. He even has like so Odesu's when he eventually finds out way later in the movie who put him in captivity, he even shows him, hey, I have a pacemaker. I can kill myself whenever I want. So you ain't gonna get your revenge. And he's just like sad. He's just like, God damn it. And he tells Odesu, do you want to find out why you're in a captivity? Or do you want your revenge? So he's just like sad and an impasse.
Yeah, that is a very good. It was a very good introduction. I think he bumps into Woo in the streets, and this happens. By the way, the whole build up to him encountering Woo was amazing. I gotta say, like the way he tracks down the restaurant where he was eating his food while he was in jail. And then that leads him to the delivery dude who leads him to the prison where he was kept, who then leads him to the warden
scene. The warden scene this.
And the toot scene where he uses the hammer and just plucks out his toot. And by the way, that was special effects. The blood around oozing. It was really good special effects because it was totally believable. Like I was cringing hard. Yeah.
It's like scraping teeth with a fork. Just like, oh.
No.
The sound design, perfect. You're so believing it.
So believable.
You're so set for this movie. You're locked in. You're locked in for this crazy, terrible ride.
Well, I guess because he's become a man of violence. He's used that time in isolation to train, and quite often it's not the case. A person would probably looked not in good shape if they were just kept in a room for 15 years. With this guy, he's been I would say he's been increasing his tolerance to pain, and you can see that with the way he's punching walls and putting needles in his nerves, and then you see him kind of losing his mind with ants coming out of his blood.
Mm-hmm.
And
again, I had an entire parallel with that, with like you're only truly lonely when you start seeing ants.
Yes, that had a is that a Korean saying, or
it might be? I'm not sure. I didn't look too much into it. I just thought it was weird for the sake of weird. I didn't.
It was very surreal. And then there's that other scene where there was that giant ant in the subway as well. With
speaking of the ants, did you know that the ant crawling out of his arm, that was all CGI?
Yeah, I did later on when I read about it, which is again,
you're like, it looks so real.
It looked completely real. And that's what surprised me for a film that came out in 2003. The special effects, the CGI in this is a good example of using it for its purpose, which is, not to like be flashy, not to take away and intrude, but just does the right amount to service the story. And the whole thing, even the toot scene, like we talked about just a bit earlier, it's an insane scene. I mean,
the whole movie's insane.
And then that leads to that iconic hallway fight.
Yeah.
Which is entirely a single take, and it's, I believe, 3 to 4 minutes long.
Yeah. It's a lot longer than you'd think it'd be.
And it's just him with a hammer going crazy on like 20, 30 guys coming at him. And the whole thing looks so believable.
Right.
It's like the way the punches are drawn, the way he's exhausted, the way everyone else is clinging on each other, and just the grappling and the pushing, and there's a point where they get so tired where they're all on the floor, and one of the bad guys just throws a stick at him out of frustration. Like he's like he's so pissed off. Like
this fucking get out of here.
Yeah, this dude just doesn't die.
Yep.
But I do need to point out the only thing about that scene was the knife that he gets stabbed in the back. That was entirely CGI.
Hmm?
That was not real. But
it wasn't real? Really?
No, it wasn't real.
It looked real.
It did completely. So that scene, and I think a lot of films since have taken huge inspiration from that scene. I know Daredevil, the first season of Daredevil from Netflix, had a similar scene where Daredevil fights all these guys in a single take in a hallway. And I think there's another film. I think the John Wick films have been influenced by it as well, to an extent. You could definitely see the inspiration with the uninterrupted sequence and the action really not being overly choreographed to the point where I think, like, in a normal sense, if a Hollywood film today had to do that scene, it would have just been the guy literally beating the shit out of everyone and winning.
Right.
And it would have just looked, the editing, the quick cuts, all that would have just made it look so slick. It would have made it look so like a video game. And I think when you compare that to this film, the way they shoot that scene is completely real, completely believable. I believe they had like some 6 takes, and they were like, by the time they got to the 6th one, they were tired. Like, they couldn't even stand and draw their punches. So they had like 3 days to shoot it. So again, it's realistic and totally believable. I never felt like it was out of tone. The action in the film entirely, even though I don't consider this to be like an action film, I would say it's more of a psychological thriller drama, but the action is very well utilized throughout the film.
No, I definitely agree. There's also another scene, if you remember, after the sushi bar, after Odesu is waking up, he like goes crazy on the woman. He like tries to she's like takes a knife to the bathroom, and then he like gets on top of her and tries to do something to her.
Yeah, he tries to rape her.
I'm glad he was unsuccessful, because that would make this movie even worse.
My God, even looking back on that now makes it look even more fucked up than it is. But yeah, he tries to rape Mido in the
force himself on her for sure. Yeah,
it's just sort of,
it's insane.
Yeah, it's almost like it's kind of like feral reaction, Yeah, that urges him to go after her, and then he realizes that what he's done is horrible, and despite that, she still not only forgives him, but still continues to keep him around and help him. And I think they develop a bond at that point. And for viewers who are watching it for the first time, they'd think, oh, this is kind of cute.
Oh, cute romance.
Really, really cute. Oh, this older dude.
You're about to get your balls plucked.
Man. That was, so fucked up.
Yeah, a lot of the parts that I liked about the movie, just like the music, it was very 2000s. And I'm okay with that. It can super age the film or anything. It's just very nicely interweaving in there. It gets you hyped up in the suspense moments. It gets you, more enthralled in the movie.
Yeah, the music is, for me, it really did 3 things. It captured the neo-noir feeling of a psychological thriller, and there was one sound, the soundtrack that played in the hallway fight. I thought that was amazing. That was a really good example of music accompanying the action. It really felt like I was watching a lot of the shots and the way the music plays out really felt like I was watching a manga come alive. A lot of it, I guess, feels like a comic book coming to life with the way it's stylized. And quite often, I think, director being overly stylized can be problematic when it doesn't really serve to the story. And I think the dangers of this is it does take a while for you to really get to the moment where the payoff arrives. But up until then, you're kind of left thinking, oh, but there's so much style. There's so much like emphasis on, direction. But what about the drama? But it's again, a good example of really keeping your cards close to your chest, showing everything, but not really showing everything, if that makes sense. And the third piece of music was horrifying. The ringtone, the music at the end with the reveal, horrifying, like a horror movie.
Yep. That's why I like it. I'm kind of messed up though, so it is what it is. This is like one of those movies that you show your friends and you're like, yeah, check out this cool Korean film, this cool action movie. And then they get to the end and you're like, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will have strong reactions to it, and
oh yeah, no, they'll feel sick. Like it's that type of movie.
It is. It's hard to really articulate, and even if you want to talk spoilers, it's gonna make for an awkward moment, like it is for us right now.
Okay.
I guess.
So I don't think it's that awkward. I am just like the movie. I'm just building up for the suspense. It's the ending is such a gut punch. It's just so many things happen in such a short amount of time. And then Dae-soo finds out he unknowingly has taken his daughter as a lover, just like Woo-jin took his sister for a lover.
That is the big reveal, and that's
the cherry on top is, so he told him earlier that he had a button to stop his pacemaker, and he after Dae-soo does some crazy shit, he's like trying to make sure, what was her name, Mido, that his lover doesn't find out. He was the only one that knows, because he opened the box and it was like a picture book, and it was a picture book of his kid, and then him and his wife, and then more pictures of his kid as she grows up. And his daughter has a box just like that right in front of her with the warden from that previous jail, and he's talking on the phone with Woo-jin. She's like, don't you fucking show her that fucking... I'll do anything. He was like basically pleading for his life. Cuts off his own tongue. He's like bleeding out. It's this crazy ass scene.
Yeah,
and then he hits
probably the
button.
Most intense 5 minutes towards the end.
Hits the damn button, and there's an earlier sex scene that's however Woo-jin bugged the damn place. He has a recording of it, and Dae-soo has to listen to that while he's like basically bleeding out.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I want to point out the sex scenes in this film. A lot of films use sex scenes just because, it can derive a certain effect, or it can achieve a certain effect on the audience. But I feel like the sex scenes in this film are absolutely integral to the story. And the first one is obviously the one with Dae-soo and Mido, where he's like, this is the first time he's having sex after being repressed for 15 years, and he's an absolute animal. You can see him going crazy. And then the other one is, I believe, sort of a flashback that takes place when Dae-soo is retracing his steps to find out when he's back in his, I think he goes back to his high school, and he realizes that he and Woo-jin were classmates. So he's trying to...
boys together.
Exactly. They were both in the same class. So he goes and he tries to retrace his steps. And that's where you see a flashback of him. Well, at that time, you don't really know, but it's him looking through a window, and he sees a girl and a boy. I believe they were taking photos. The next thing you know, the boy is getting a bit too touchy and tries to like strip her naked. And there's like a scene going on. She's like resisting, but not really resisting. And I believe that's how the entire rumor goes around, where this girl is basically caught having sex and turns out to be her brother. And her brother is Woo-jin. So I think what was really good was when you see, for a first time viewer, or even for a viewer who may see it again, when you see these scenes, you're just like, oh, it's a sex scene. Okay. And we move on. But then when you come back after what you realize it is, it just makes the effect of watching that scene a whole lot more crazier.
Yeah, you're watching it for a completely different reason.
Yeah. And that's an effect of great storytelling and editing. You know, that's you can show a scene and it can be, the meaning can be interpreted completely differently than what it was originally. So I think that is where the strong suits of the narrative lies. It's a script that teeters on mystery, and when it does reveal, and it just makes that whole experience of what you've just consumed a lot more harder to swallow.
Yeah, no, it's it's brutal.
What did you think of the performance? I thought they were over the top, but it worked.
I thought, well, initially when I watched the movie, like the only thing that I really thought was really over the top was the sex scene with Ode-su and Mito. But now that I've watched it again, it kind of works. It kind of works just because of like how over the top it really needed to be for like that final gut punch. Like it's like a gut punch and then a low blow. It's a twofer. So this movie kind of feels like there's some overacting for sure. But I don't think it really takes away from it.
Yeah, I quite like the performance of the antagonist.
Yeah,
as you pointed
he's
out.
deliciously, sadistically evil. He's perfect.
He's perfect, and he's pathetic. He's not just, he's not
I wish he didn't kill himself at the end.
But it just blows my mind. Like the thing that's really creepy about this guy is the fact that he waited 15 years to specifically enact this form of revenge on him, all because he was the guy who spread the word about his sister and him
being pregnant,
which was false. Apparently, it was false. It was
but
not
her belly
true.
swelled up.
Yeah,
even she was believing the lie.
Yeah, and it ended up causing her to want to die and commit suicide. And so he used that time in 15 years to not only get rich, I assume, because the guy quite clearly is loaded. He lives in a penthouse apartment. Feels like a crazy final boss type of character, he's used 15 years so that, because when the story starts, Odesu's daughter is only 3, so 15 years you add to that, she's 18 and she's like an adult then, and then the whole technique of using hypnosis to get them both to meet each other and fall in love and bugging them. I mean, it's crazy convoluted.
Oh yeah, for sure. But how would you even do that?
That's what I don't know.
Doing that, I feel like that's like the linchpin of the whole film. Like, so there are a lot of movies that will use something like that, like, ooh, you had amnesia or hypnosis, like as a really silly like plot convenience because the writer couldn't think of a way to write around it. But I kind of feel like a movie of this age, it just works. It hasn't been done to death yet.
That was my only point of worry.
Right?
No, it wasn't a
Okay.
gripe. It was more of worry because I knew that the film had crazy twist. Obviously, I didn't read the spoilers because I wanted to watch it for the
Good.
first time, but I always knew that there was, because every list out there will talk about Oldboy
Fuck movies.
exactly as one of those crazy mindfuck films with a crazy ending. And I think a lot of these films can sometimes use the twist. Like I can have a problem with it sometimes because it can be like done as a gimmick.
Yep,
But like you pointed out, yeah, like that guy. It's like using these tricks as a gimmick to sort of cover the poor writing or the lack of like deserved ending. Like I have a problem with that, but I did not feel that way about this. In fact, when you see it through the antagonist's perspective, it makes sense and it's sadistic and it's devious, but it also shows this guy was so pathetic. He had nothing else to look forward to in his life but to get his revenge. Exactly, to get his revenge. And the minute he gets his revenge, and Odesu cutting his tongue is symbolic in a way, because it's like it was his tongue that spread the rumor. It was his tongue that he ends up cutting out. And he then Woo-jin ends up killing himself, shoots himself in the elevator. Now, what would your reaction been? Do you think both Odesu and Woo-jin should have died in the penthouse?
That's a good question. Well, if Odesu doesn't die, Woo-jin's definitely gonna die. Because Odesu's an animal, and he won't stop until he gets his revenge. I would have been fine with Odesu basically bleeding out and Woo-jin just getting out. Just like do 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 do. On to the next thing. I just liked his character that much. Like, he is deplorable for sure. Like, he's not somebody you want to strive to be like or even be anything like because of how just sadistically evil he is. But I kind of like it in movies when the villain wins. Because you don't see it a lot. You see a lot of the hero has plot armor the whole movie. There's nowhere they're going to die because they got 6 sequels already planned in the movie studio. So, there's no threat to the main character dying.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really have a problem with him not dying. Although I thought like maybe it would have worked, but
yeah,
I think the only problem I have, it's not really a problem because there's so much of this film is a bold statement that you really can't fault with it. You kind of have to, admire the filmmaking decisions because it takes balls to make a film like this and tell a story like this. I guess the ambiguity in the end, whether you think he knows or he doesn't know after he consults the hypnotist to erase that part of his memory. I'm not sure. I think the director has vocally said that he's left it open to interpretation so that people can decide. And I'm not always a fan of that. I don't always want that. let people decide, because then it's like, yeah, it's a great way to keep people talking about your film. But I don't know. Did you think he knows? Because there's a very strange reaction at the end where he's hugging her.
Right.
Well, she's hugging him, and she says, "I love you, old man," in Korean. And you see he has a bit of a smile that turns into a horrified grimace.
You know what? I'm just gonna play ignorance and say they lived happily ever after.
Oh, no. This is not the Disney ending we want. There is no happily ever after.
No. He's eventually going to find out again, and then he'll probably kill himself.
It kind of reminded me of Shutter Island, at that scene in the
yeah.
end where Leonardo DiCaprio's character says, is it, is it best to live as a beast or die as a good man? Something like along those lines. I've forgotten the reason why I say that. In fact, I may look up that quote real quick. The reason I say that, because that is the quote along those lines which convinces the hypnotist to help him. I think he says like, even if I'm a beast, I still deserve to live.
Okay.
And I think she's touched from that quote from him and decides to help him. But the hypnotherapist was, the quote from Shutter Island is, which would be worse, to live as a monster or to die as a good man? And in Oldboy, he tells the hypnotherapist, even if I am a beast, I still have the right to live. So what? So it's somewhere similar along those lines. But again, it's very good, poses good questions on morality, poses good questions on complex characters. Odesu definitely has some sort of an Oedipus complex that he's unintentionally picked up, maybe. But
poor guy.
Yeah, you feel for the character to an extent, because it's brutal. It's like
for it.
Yeah, he's every shred of humanity he has is completely gone.
Right.
So that's I think the way you framed it, that it's a gut punch, and then it's what did you say?
Like a sack tap or whatever. The idea is that you're getting hit twice.
Yeah, that's exactly the effect of the ending. But any other points? I felt like technically I really liked the production design. I felt like Woo-jin's penthouse felt like anime characters, like final boss lair. A lot of the backgrounds look like Sin City without the VFX, but I quite liked the production design in the hotel where he was kept captive, where like, it's sort of like it's a prison, but it doesn't feel like a prison in a way. It's kind of like you're locked in a hotel room, and then
claustrophobic.
Very claustrophobic, and it has that window with the fake sunset, which is probably the closest thing he gets to like getting a view. And apart from that,
you even think that's the way he's going to get out, is punching the wall, because he like opened the hole in the wall.
Yeah, over years, it takes him years to just get.
He's like, in another month, I'll be out.
Yeah, but when you see that, when he finally breaks the brick from the exterior wall, he's like 7.5 floors above. So even if he does break through, if he jumps out, he's gonna die.
Right. And he's like, I'd rather die out there than stay in here.
Yeah, I thought a good twist was, I thought like because they keep gassing him with Valium and put him to sleep. Yeah. I thought they'd eventually find out that he's been trying to dig himself out. But yeah, I didn't see that whole thing coming where, they just decide to let him go. Like the therapist comes in and hypnotizes him, and he's freed. And then I thought that was a good sort of twist where it changes your expectations, because quite often when it comes to prison movies or jailbreak movies, you're like, it's sort of a race against time to get out before the people who are keeping you there find out what you're up to. So it sort of deviated your expectations at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I would get on that because we completely forgot about that.
I also liked the transitions in the film, like the superimpositions, the way the shots were changing from one to another, where there was this sort of a crossfade. You don't see it very often today in Hollywood or in any, like most films, like don't really try to do it. I guess some do, but it's very
Saw 3 and 4 do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's, of course, I would know that.
That's something only you would know.
Yep.
Yeah. But
No, there's like that subway scene where you see like her hair and then it's like the subway. It's pretty cool.
really, really cool. And again, thematically really fit with the story and the direction. Even the scene where he's like getting the flashback of himself as a kid and he's retracing what's going on. You see him in his adult form, and then you see the kid walking around. And I thought that was pretty neat. I thought the Woo-jin's sideman, henchman, Mr. Han.
Yep.
I thought
Bleached hair guy.
Bleached hair guy. Yeah, I thought he was kind of just killed off in the end.
Yeah, he got done dirty. He did everything that guy asked.
Yeah.
And he was like interrupting their confrontation. So he's like, boom, right in the back of that executioner.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, this storyline, I know it would never happen, but could you imagine if James Bond had this storyline, considering he's a womanizer and considering the villains like kind of like over the top, kind of like a Bond villain? It would be pretty crazy.
It'd be insane.
It would
mainstream movie. Their heads would blow up.
It would kill the franchise.
Movie would probably get banned. It'd get like a XXX rating.
But if they really want to kill Bond, they should do this.
See, now that you say that, they would have test screened that, and it wouldn't have worked, and it would have never made it to the cinema.
Of course it wouldn't. Of course it wouldn't.
No, because somebody would have puked in the theater, and they're like, "Oh, it's not a horror movie." Shit.
Yeah. Oh man.
No, I could definitely see you being that sick watching this. No, for the first time watching, if you're not expecting it, it blindsides you.
But I guess, was it a different experience watching it the second time?
Second time, I forgot some parts, so sure. Yeah, I felt the same getting blindsided. Like I knew like the general idea, but I didn't know exactly where in the movie it was going to show up. It's been a couple of years since I've seen this.
Okay, so but the scenes you knew were obviously like
the fight scene,
yeah,
and then the climax, obviously. No pun intended.
Yeah, the climax. I was expecting a crazy like final fight because it looked really cool. The penthouse.
But, oh yeah, no, that's probably because you watched John Wick too many times.
Yeah, I guess.
I think
so.
One of the John Wicks, there's like the final confrontation is in like a glass house, like penthouse like that too.
Yeah, I believe that's John Wick.
The idea.
John Wick 3 ending was similar. But that just shows like how much it's influenced. Yeah, it's been a massive influence for a lot of action films in Hollywood, and quite clearly there's remakes. So
right,
when you do something so crazy and you have so much of people coming in and trying to do things with it or taking inspiration from it, that's when you know you've made something iconic.
Mm-hmm. Damn it, Spike Lee. And then damn it, whoever that Hindi director was in 2006. I'm not going to watch that, obviously.
Don't.
I've already suffered enough watching the Spike Lee version. Thanos is in it. Josh Brolin.
What made you want to watch that, and what was your reaction?
I'm just a glutton for terrible movies. One of these times we'll talk about a shit-tastic movie. It's going to be awesome. Because we've only watched good stuff so far.
Yeah, but did you see a lot of differences with the American and the Korean film? Or is it just a word-to-word?
The American film, just off of memory, like I remember just like this script is a lot worse. Like they try to do their own plot twist. It's completely different and it doesn't make any sense. And I think I want to say the Scarlet Witch chick, I think she plays the daughter or something.
Yeah, Elizabeth
I want to say it's somebody
Olsen.
like that.
Yeah, it is Elizabeth Olsen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was watching that and I was like, I like these actors, but I do not like this script or this director. And like the action scenes are not as good, obviously. Like if I were to give Oldboy 2013 a rating, because I will never review it on this podcast, I will give it a 2 out of 10.
Damn.
Pretty scathing.
Yeah, that tells you pretty much everything.
Nope, watch 2003. Preferably with Japanese, with Korean audio. If you really want to watch the English version, have fun.
Nah, you have to watch it Korean, and there's just so many things. There's so many things. Even when I believe there's a quote on the photo album where when he sees the pictures, I think the quote says, "Laugh and the earth laughs with you, and cry and you will cry alone." So yeah, there's some very interesting sort of screenplay, like interesting choice of like dialogue and script and text in the story, which I think elevated some of the moments of the characters from just being a flat out revenge story. But
and I'm all for that. I'm all for a good revenge story.
yeah, well, the East Asians, they know how to do it gratuitously. They'll take it to the next level. So, is there anything else you want to touch on, or should we get to
ratings?
Yeah, we can go to ratings.
I'm ready for ratings. All right, I'll let you do it first.
Cool.
Oh, me too.
No, I can go first.
All right.
For me, I think like this was like going into it. I guess my expectations were like, again, I was aware of the twist, not aware of the spoilers, but aware that there was going to be a crazy twist. So I was kind of like wondering, is this still going to blow me away, even though I know that there'll be a twist? And yeah, it did. It did because not only because the twist was crazy and kind of unexpected, but because this is something that is, again, the way it's been directed, you can really tell it's directed by an author who quite clearly is using a distinctive style to tell his story. It can be frustrating in the first 45 minutes because you don't know what's going on, but the payoff is totally worth it. The performances were incredible. The actor who plays Ode-soo, I believe his name is Park. I believe his name is Choi Min-sik. That's correct. Choi Min-sik, the actor who plays Ode-soo, was incredible. I thought this was not only an emotionally but also physically challenging role, and I also liked the antagonist a lot. And in the end, the antagonist made him, the other side of the coin, the face of the coin. So very interesting concept, and when you rewatch this film, yeah, it takes a different meaning. So I'd like to give it like a 9 out of 10. But yeah, I think it's iconic. I think the script is great, direction is great, performances are great, and the twist is insane.
Yeah, I also echo everything you just said. I give Oldboy a 9 out of 10, the 2003 version. I'd recommend this for sure. If you're an adolescent or coming into adulthood, this is definitely a good movie for somebody that likes mindfuck movies. If you like Fight Club, if you like Memento, if you like any of those crazy movies that mess with your head, this is a good movie because you won't see the plot twist coming unless you're spoiled. And it is going to make you seek out more Korean cinema, which is good because it's a lot harder to find in the States. And I know it's a lot harder to find in other places in the world that are primarily English speaking.
Yeah, great. Quite clearly, highly recommended film. Cult classic, Korean movie, one of the best directors from Korea. Yeah, I guess I think you really wrapped it up perfectly. Any other final thoughts or?
Nope. We can go straight into recommendations for our next recommendations. What are we going to cover on our next discussion?
Great. Yeah. So for our next recommendation, I'd like to talk about the new Richard Linklater film called Hitman, starring Glenn Powell and Adria Arjona. And I believe it is streaming on Netflix at the moment, released on the 7th of June. So yeah, it's a very interesting rom-com slash mystery slash thriller slash drama about a guy who's basically playing an undercover hitman. That's all I'll say. I think we can save the rest for the discussion.
Awesome. That sounds very intriguing. If you don't want to be spoiled for Hitman, what was it, this year, 2024?
Yep.
Okay, if you don't want to be spoiled for Hitman 2024, you should probably get on that and watch that before our next discussion. I'll see you guys later. You have anything else, Adi?
Oh, no. See you then. Thank you for listening.